All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today as we are going to explore why over 500 iMIS customers are using the iMIS Data Management Suite. I am JT Fiedler. I am the Product and Sales Advisor here at CSI, and I'm joined by Doug Morris, who is the Founder and Chief Product Officer, as well as Elizabeth Wojcik, who's the Director of Business Development here at CSI. We want this to be interactive and things like that. So feel free to utilize that chat, bounce ideas off of each other, and we'll take things from there.
And hopefully the chat works.
Yes. So we are here obviously to talk about the iMIS Data Management Suite. And just like I mentioned, we want it to be interactive. So wanted to take a pause, a moment to have you say how you're using iDMS within your organization if you are using iDMS today. Want to see how you're using it and what kind of cool things you're using it for.
Chat's working, JT.
I see that, yes.
All right, anybody, first one to post what they're using iDMS for, if you are using iDMS in the chat, gets a Doug Bucks. Importing data, Lori Lee, yay. All right. Oh, large amounts of data. Sorry, Robin, missed you there. Would like to replace. Sarah gets the prize because she wants to replace. Oh, updating membership relationships. Sorry, Courtney. These are popping all out of interesting orders. Import data. All right, cool.
Nice. Awesome. So quickly high level reviewing what makes up the iMIS Data Management Suite. So you have iImport. So iImport is going to be being able to import, update, delete data, and everything is in an Excel spreadsheet you have. So it's external data that you want to bring into iMIS. Then the second module is iUpdate. So you have that same core functionality of being able to import data, update data, delete data, but instead of an Excel spreadsheet, you're using an IQA query. iSchedule, this gives you the ability to schedule either off hours or on a recurring basis your imports and updates. iWorkflow is the newest module, and we'll touch on that in this webinar. But essentially, you can think of it as kind of an iSchedule on steroids. So you can have multiple steps in a single workflow, and it's going to act more kind of along the lines of your Power Automate engine. So you're going to be able to say, once this IQA runs, go ahead and run this one, and then this one, so it can have steps. iTransfer gives you the ability to easily transfer data to a given third party. And then iHook allows you to, or allows third parties to write back data to iMIS, given it be an activity or data to a given panel in iMIS. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Doug to talk through what you can actually do with iDMS.
Okay, so we're going to be looking for ideas from you throughout this webinar. So I'm going to go over all the things you can do with iDMS today, and I'm sure we've missed a couple. My vision for the product was always to make these plus modules the more we added, but I forgot to do that. So we just keep including everything and not charging extra for this stuff. So the most basic thing is contact details that we can go ahead and insert, update. And so in this case, we're inserting names, addresses, demographics, panel data. All of those things can be inserted and updated. How about activities? We can add activities in mass. We can update activities in mass, and we can even delete activities in mass. JT does that all the time. When he wants to prep for a demo, he adds a whole bunch of activities, and he wants to get rid of them so they're not there anymore. He just deletes them. One of the cool things you can do is the communication log, right? If the communication log in iMIS is a one-way thing, once something goes in there today, it's stuck. Well, first off, what if you communicated with a member outside of iMIS? You know, you used a third-party product, and you now need to know or want to write that communication to iMIS to know that I emailed JT something outside, I can not only insert to the communication log, I can even delete from the communication log, something you can only do with iDMS. Super important to a lot of organizations, especially up north, to our friends up north in Canada and over in the UK, where it's really, really, really bad to email someone that you don't have an existing relationship with. You can go ahead and automatically set communication preferences. So maybe you want to set communication preferences for when someone joins, they automatically go on the new member communication group or something like that. All sorts of fun things. But speaking of groups, if you've ever done groups with IQAs and created groups, you can even update group membership. So I can go ahead and create group members, a great way to do some really fun stuff to control pricing and do all sorts of things like that for events and whatnot. Relationships are important, and we can do those as well. So we can go ahead and automatically insert relationships or even delete relationships. So maybe a great idea might be, well, gosh, anytime someone becomes a new member, I want to pair them with a mentor at the organization. So a mentor-mentee relationship. And we're going to do that automatically. And then maybe we're going to use iDMS to trigger a communication to go out to introduce those two. That would be cool. We're going to show you something a little bit later with user credentials. You can go ahead and insert user credentials. You can unlock people, and you can even delete user credentials. And then finally, user roles. We can actually control those. So we've got the ability to do group membership and user roles. Super, super cool. All right, that's all fun. But what about, and I even saw it in here, it might have been Rosa. She used it to bulk register a group of people. So if you need to bring in actual event registrations, and I'm not talking activities, I'm talking the full registration with dollar amounts and everything, you can do that in mass. So if you've got a list of people that need to be automatically registered for an event, or maybe you want to go take your board of directors and automatically register for them for the event, so they don't have to go in and do it. You can do event registrations with iDMS. This is new, generating renewals. We're going to talk about how powerful this is. I can schedule my renewals to automatically be generated so I don't have to remember to do them. Super fun. If you're a fundraising organization, gifts and pledges, we can bring those in. If you're using an outside system, maybe you hosted an event where a bunch of people donated and you've got it all on a spreadsheet. You just need to get it into iMIS. You can do that super fast as well. Don't forget, we can do bulk orders and subscriptions. So in the old days, before we could generate renewals, a lot of people were inserting subscriptions manually. We can even do that now. So say I offered a journal. I know that sounds kind of old school, but say we were still doing a journal and we were mailing it out, and I wanted to give those to maybe any member that had been a member for more than 5 years. I could go ahead and create an IQA that found all those people and automatically insert a subscription on the fly. By the way, notice it says insert and update. We just added in the latest version of iDMS the ability to change an order status. So you know how you have to kind of go and say invoice it now and do all these things? You can do that with iDMS now. So that's super, super cool. Products. Elizabeth and I were just talking, and we've got a client that needs to change a whole bunch of GL account numbers. Well, guess what? You can not only insert new products, you can change your products. So maybe you want to do a 5% price increase across the board with all of your products. You can do that in 2 or 3 clicks. And that's super powerful, including maybe I want to change the GL account number. You know how those accountants, whenever they put a new accounting system in, they want new GL account numbers. You can do it in mass now. Committee codes, I can import those. You know, we're not generating a lot of new committees these days, but if you're new to iMIS and you're like, wow, committees are really powerful, I want to bring in a whole bunch of new committee codes, you can do that. Gift items, my friend Sarah up north, she was working with an organization, one of those ones that you see late night TV when you can't sleep, $5 a day can feed a child. Well, this organization, the children were actually things that you could gift to. So we actually needed to bring in a gift item per child, if you will. So she said, Doug, I have a lot of bad pictures of you doing bad things at conferences. And if you don't add the ability to import gift items into iDMS, I'm going to go ahead and make some of these public. So we added the ability to bring in gift items. So that's pretty cool. Gen lookup tables. You want to go, and you can do this in iMIS. You can do it in 2017. I think they might have added it to EMS, but I want to go ahead and import a whole bunch of gen lookups. I can do that now. Super excited about this. Promotion codes. You can automatically create new promotion codes or import them or whatever. So you don't have to go through those screens in iMIS. And then I save the best for last. Event setup. If you've ever set up an event in iMIS, you know it can be pretty time consuming. JT and I were just at the iMIS users group in the DC area, and a lady came up to us and said, wow, you saved my life. I think she had 70 events that she runs every fall. And she said it took 3 people 3 weeks working full time, setting up all 70 of those events. They put them into Excel this time, and all they did was modify what they needed, and then they imported them all using iDMS. She said, you took it down to 1 day. So we went from 15 days of work, well, 45 person days, if you will, down to 3-person days, 1 day, 3 people, and they brought them all in. So that's what really, really drives us here at CSI, when we can automate things like that and make your life easier. So on that note, any new ideas based on the stuff I've done? Would love to hear, like, oh my gosh, that would be great. And yes, Sarah, it does affect AR, bulk registrations for a paid event. Yes, AR, everything. You're going to get a batch. You're going to get everything. Third-party email software into the comm log. You're darn right you could. So anybody, if you come up with another idea, feel free to put it in there. Would love to hear some ideas. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that. I know. I'd love to do that. So let's keep going, JT. All right. I like to do this to JT. He's a young whippersnapper, if you will. I like to watch him work, if you will. And so basically we get a new spreadsheet of prospects every month, and I need to bring them into iMIS, but they're not always new. Sometimes they're already in iMIS. So let's see how fast JT can bring these new people into iMIS and not create duplicates. I hate duplicates, JT.
Yes. All right. So jumping into iDMS, we're going to just be using iImport because we're using an Excel spreadsheet. So we'll go into iImport. We'll simply select that file. Here's the prospects. If we take a quick look at what this data looks like, the nice thing with iDMS is that you don't have to have your headers be named something specific or have to be in a specific format. You can keep your data as is. And once you have that file, we'll go ahead, we'll do that, we'll load it, and then we're going to do an insert update. So just to save time, I did have these mappings already. So truly new prospects is our template. And so when we select that, it's going to read the headers in our file, and it's going to map everything out that we have in that saved template. You'll notice here, Doug mentioned that he hates duplicates. So because we don't know if they're all new or if they're also in the iMIS system, we're going to match on the email and the last name in our file. And we're actually going to enable this do not update records, insert only when no match is found. So to avoid those duplicates, we're only going to insert when there is not a match to the email address and last name fields in our Excel spreadsheet. We'll go ahead, we'll hit submit. This brings us just to a validation screen so we can double check everything. And just to show you, we did contact details as well as we're bringing in an address. So this is just obviously basic. You could put panel data, additional fields, whatever data you have in your spreadsheet, you can have in all in one go. We'll go continue with insert and update, but only wanting to insert that truly new data. So what it's doing is it's loading the Excel file. It's attempting to find a match to a record in iMIS. And if it does, it's going to go ahead and skip over it because we only want to bring in that truly new data.
How about a refresh?
Yeah.
Bam.
So here you can see row 1, we actually did find it, so it skipped over it. But down here you'll see it created Cody's record. So this log is telling you what matches it found on, as well as what created or what records were created in iMIS.
Pretty cool, JT. But I'm a guy full of ideas, and I got a new idea.
All
We are
right.
bringing back the Chicago chapter. And so I need you to find everybody that is in postal code that starts with 606 and add them to Chicago chapter, right? So I don't have any outside data. It's just my iMIS data. Put everybody in the Chicago chapter, and JT, make sure that anybody in 606 stays in the Chicago chapter, please.
Yes. So I will go ahead, and all of this data is in iMIS already. So I just created an IQA out here that is going to find all of those individuals who have a zip code of starting with 606, and their chapter is currently empty. So we'll go ahead and run it, and we'll notice there are 86 people that need to be assigned to the Chicago chapter. A little note too, with the recent ASI update, you'll want to make sure this checkbox is enabled so you can have the IQA available via the API. We'll go ahead, we'll go into iUpdate because we're using an IQA query we have in iMIS, and we will simply just go and select where that IQA lives. We'll then grab it, and all we're doing is we're just updating their chapter. So I once again have these mapped out already. So new chapter, when we select it, all it's doing is it's matching on the iMIS ID, and it's setting their chapter to that Chicago chapter. Now, like Doug mentioned, we don't want to run this manually. We want it to be on a scheduled basis. So everyone who has that 606 zip code will automatically be tied to the Chicago chapter. So we're going to schedule this as a task. So we'll just give it a name. We could say update chapter. And then we can just add it to an existing iWorkflow job. So from here, this is where we use the iWorkflow wizard. So we'll hit start. We'll select, we have a workflow that's all of our hourly tasks. So we want to simply just add this one to those hourly tasks. We'll hit next, and then we'll hit finish. And so what this is doing is it's taking that iUpdate job, and it is putting it right into our hourly tasks that we want to run. You'll notice, Doug will kind of dive into each of these in a little bit, but you'll notice that with iWorkflow, you can have these steps involved in a single workflow. So in our hourly tasks job, we want to unlock locked user accounts, so no one's locked out and they can log into the system. We want to also find everybody who has missing user credentials. So we want to create brand new user credentials for them so they can log into our system. We also want to just do some data cleanup, some driving of data integrity. So we're going to update member types for people who have a paid through in the past and they're still getting member benefits. And then the last one is updating that chapter field in iMIS that I just set up. So this is scheduled to run every hour on the hour, so you can set it, forget it, and never have to worry about it.
Pretty cool. All right. Thanks, JT. So let's just recap, right? JT showed us how we imported data, right? That's pretty cool. And it's pretty easy. I'll point out that ASI uses the iMIS data management suite, and normal people, mere mortals, are importing data. So some of their salespeople are importing prospects. They're relaxing the grip, if you will, the IT grip, and allowing regular users to import data. We want our software to be so easy that anybody can use it. So that's why our documentation's all online. We offer free support, but he showed you how easy it is to actually bring in data. He also showed you how easy it was to update data, right? Now, he could have used a spreadsheet for that, but in this case, he used iUpdate that actually used a query that existed in iMIS that used existing iMIS data to update existing iMIS data. Pretty cool. We didn't get into the delete data. It's a little scary, but you can delete a whole bunch of things with iDMS. You got to be a little cautious on this. There's no undo, but you can delete data. Don't forget you can transfer data too, right? We talked a little bit about our iTransfer product that takes a set of data and pushes it over to a third party. Now that set of data, you can actually set up with iTransfer that says, only send them the data that has changed. So this gets really powerful. If you've got a group that says, send me all your members, and then once a month, send me any new members or changed members, you can do that with iTransfer. And then we're going to show you iHook working in a minute. iHook is that third party. If you've ever dealt with a third party and they go, tell us about the iMIS API. And you're like, oh, I don't know the iMIS API. Well, iHook allows that third party to write data to iMIS in a simple way that they can understand, and it gets into your iMIS database as an activity or panel record that you can then act on using iDMS. So we make it easy to get data from third parties. And then finally, with iSchedule and iTransfer, really what we're looking for is automation. And we're going to talk about some different things you can and should be automating today. The real power of iMIS, especially coupled with iDMS, is when you start automating things. We've done a whole bunch of webinars on the power of automation. It not only saves time, but it's more consistent and it happens on a scheduled basis. So automation is really powerful. I know we're all busy today with the thousands of emails we get. The more things you can take off your plate, the happier you will be. So let's talk about some things. All right. What happens when a member today, your organization, when a member locks themselves out and forgets their password, right? Well, gosh, they just call you and they say, can you unlock my thing? Well, that stinks, especially if they're trying to self-service at 8 p.m. and they call your organization. You're not answering the phone at 8 p.m., right? So you end up with a disgruntled member that's like, well, I hope I remember to pay my dues bill tomorrow or do something like that. Alternatively, you can have an iDMS job that automatically unlocks them. And then you get that guy who's wearing a t-shirt at 8 p.m. and he's much happier now. So I think a lot of our slides are, I shouldn't say it, but I don't like that sweater above. The guy below is a lot cooler. So the person who automatically has their account unlocked is cooler. What about when a member expires, right? We've got Susan working for us. We sometimes call her Susie. She loves to daydream, right? And she's supposed to run that manage expired members in iMIS once a month. And that goes and finds everybody who's expired and turns them into a non-member. But if she forgets, all those members keep getting all those non-members, all those nasty people who forgot to pay us continue to get membership benefits. So alternatively, you could create an iMIS data management suite job that automatically finds everybody who's expired. Now, maybe not expired as of today. Maybe you allow a 1 month grace period. So after 1 month, if they're expired, we're going to switch them to a non-member. So we could say, no more free member benefits. You don't get to log in or you don't get to access our member-only content until you pay us. All right. Susie likes to go on holiday, right? What does it look like when Susie goes on holiday? That's Susie on holiday, right? She does have the best outfits of anybody in the office. I will say that. So what happens when she goes on holiday, right? Well, she's in charge of running our membership billing. That membership billing's pretty darn important to us because that's where all our money comes from when our members pay it. And if Susie's gone, well, don't worry. She taught someone how to run membership billing. I don't know if you've ever done membership billing, but there's a bunch of little check boxes you better make sure you get right. Otherwise, you could either A, bill the whole world, or B, bill nobody. So I don't trust that somebody, and I certainly don't trust Susie, so she's out. So alternatively, how about an iDMS job that automatically runs your billing on the first of the month. How cool is that? That it automatically bills everybody and does it correctly. You set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about it. Susie can go on her vacations because, man, the amount of PTO she has is unbelievable. And so that's great. And then finally, have you ever had this? Your CEO or your executive director says, "Hey, can you tell me how many members we had last year? Is membership trending up or down? How many last month or whatever?" If you've ever tried to work backwards in iMIS and figure out how many members you had a year ago, you're not going to do it very easily. It's a full day's worth of time. But if you have iDMS today, and we have webinars on how to do this, you can be that happy guy right there, because every day you can snapshot your database. You can write to a panel how many members you have, how many non-members you have, how many prospects. You can go and say, I want to track how many people have logged into my website today. What a great indicator, right? If all of a sudden people stop logging into your website, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be around a long time. They're not engaged. You're not providing content that brings them to your website. They're going to forget about you when the dues bill comes. They're not going to pay it. So track your logins, track your counts, and do these each and every day. This is super, super powerful. So let's go over, we're going to show you something really, really cool in a minute, but let's go over stuff you should be doing today, right? I just talked about it. You should be tracking your membership and login counts. If you have iDMS, email support@csinc.com. We'll have that email and we'll tell you where to watch the video on how to do this. You should be creating dues and subscriptions based on your rules. So if you have special goofy rules of when a subscription should be active or not, go ahead and automate that. Talked about Susie, generate your renewals automatically. We added this to iMIS. Sorry, we added this to iDMS so that it makes your life easier. When your life's easier and your members' life's easier or your donor's life is easier, we're happier here at CSI. That's what we want. We want to hear people say, I love iMIS. I love your product. Thanks for making it work so well. How about creating activities based on changes in iMIS? Why would you want to do that? Well, I'll be honest. Causes, a solution provider in Australia, told me why this was so powerful. Every time they go and they create a new user credential for someone or they do something behind the scenes, they write an activity. The reason they write an activity is they use process automation to look for that activity and they trigger on it. Then they send the member a notice. Hey, we created a new username and password for you. Hey, we unlocked your account. Hey, so you can go ahead and let the end user know that you've done something for them. And this is all happening automatically. So now you're pairing iDMS with process automation. And finally, we have a full YouTube video on this. I just sent it to someone the other day, Tim, my friend Tim. You can trigger all of this from Rise. So I could actually have, when a person goes and joins, it could automatically create an order for them. I could have them automatically change the member type and generate a renewal. So I can generate renewals on the fly from Rise, or automatically register someone for it. Imagine how powerful that would be if you had a little checkbox, tick box, and you said, register me for this event, and it was a free event. You hit save, and that fired off an iDMS workflow or task that registered that individual for the event, and they didn't have to do anything. Oh my God. You're just making your members so, so happy. So many things you can do. We want to see all sorts of fun things like that. If you have any cool new ideas, we'd love to see them in the chat. Elizabeth, thank you so much. It looks like you are going to town answering so many of these. I appreciate you on that. Love to hear if you guys, you got a new idea or, well, I didn't know I should be tracking my member counts. Please light up the chat. We would love to hear from you some cool things you're doing. But I'm going to tell you right now, get out your phones, okay? Get out your phones. JT, show us something really cool.
Yes. So we are going to shift focus into the iWorkflow module. And we're proud to say that this year we won the Rise App Challenge with this solution. We were the people's choice. So everybody at the conference voted for iWorkflow as the winner of the Rise App Challenge. So we're super happy, super proud of that. But with our workflow here, scan this QR code. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring you to a form. And so you'll just fill out the form. and then it's actually going to put you into a workflow. So it's going to process your form information, give you user credentials, and at the end, it's going to send you a text message saying, hey, we found an account. Here's to reset your password, or hey, you don't have an account in iMIS, so let's go ahead, create one, and you can reset your password here. So high level, what does it look like? So this flow is using a webhook. So once a form is submitted, it's going to go ahead and put that information into a panel that we created in iMIS. Then it's going to either update contacts or it's going to actually insert you into iMIS. So what this is doing is if it finds a match in iMIS, it's going to provide those credentials. But if it doesn't find a match, it's going to go ahead and create brand new user credentials for you. Then the last step is actually sending the text message to you to be able to retrieve your account.
Hold
I'll
on one
go
second,
back.
JT. I'm going to put the tally link into the chat for anybody who could not get the QR code to work, which is always fun on a screen. Here we go. Here's the link. Here we go.
It looks like we have some people who are getting hopefully text messages.
What's happening, JT? I'm so confused. What's happening?
So if we go into actually the iWorkflow things, this is what is the flow. So it's all of kind of high level what I said, and then ending with that SMS contact. The nice thing with iWorkflow is it gives you an output. So when you submitted that, it would tell you here. So you can get more in-depth analysis of your jobs that are running and everything like that. And I'm hoping that in the chat, if you received a text message, feel free to say you did. Great question. Yes. So for this example, because it uses texting, you would need Text Manager from CSI. But yes, that would be just one caveat there. All right.
Isabel's still waiting. I'm going to blame that AT&T is having a service outage today. I got a 1 in 3 shot that that's her provider. Oh, I failed. I mean Verizon. I mean T-Mobile.
Verizon.
So think about how powerful this is, right? And now, granted, we sort of snuck a little bit. We didn't have to, but we snuck a little bit of text manager in here. But we used to have a product called User Account Management at CSI that allow you to recover your username and password. You can now create something like this, especially if you have someone's cell number on file, to allow them to reset. So I'm Doug Morris, but I'm no longer at CSI. I now have a new email address. I can't go and reset my password. It's tied to dmorris@csinc.com. So we can actually make a system that would delete my credentials, create new credentials. I'm dmorris@csiinc.com now, and send me a reset. So all sorts of fun stuff. Canada, that cost us extra money. So all sorts of fun things we could do. This was just a fun little workflow thing we did. It was very risky because we were doing it live at Innovations. We normally like to do a recorded thing because the recorded stuff always works, but we had the guts and we did it. And some people received theirs a little late at Innovations, but we've tightened up the system and made it even better. So kind of fun, right? And it looks better on a phone. We didn't spend a whole lot of time doing Rise styling here. All right. Thanks, JT. All right. Any questions? We've got some in here, and I'll try to do my best. Any new and exciting ideas, or any fashion tips for this lady? We're looking for, to keep the chat active, and stuff like that. And yes, I put this in, and JT saw it at the end and went, "Oh God!" And I'm sure Elizabeth will be messaging me after this webinar and lecturing me on being appropriate. But that's neither here nor those. The email to update your password, you're not going to get. We have the system that ASI gives us does not have email enabled due to JT abusing it and sending out too many emails. So we were just doing proof of concept. Once you put in your new username, you will not get a password email. I'm sorry, we do not have that activated. That would be cool. Maybe we'll do that for our next one. We'll have to use a different demo instance, but our demo instance, ASI has disabled our email on it. But that would be a cool thing to do. So yeah, everything will work. It'll take you to the page and everything. But when you put in your new username and say, give me my new password, it's not going to work. We should make sure we point that out, JT.
Yes. Daniel says, does this automatically opt users in to allow us to text them other things? So
You would, yeah, go ahead, JT.
I was just going to say, you can update. You could have a process here that updates their communication preferences. If you have Text Manager, there is an activity that can be written back to them if they say like stop or one of the keywords to get out of or opt out of texting. So you can have an iDMS job that looks for those activities to make sure that communication preference is updated. So you could have that incorporated into the workflow as well. Doug, what happens with the relationship when someone is not with a company any longer? How does it know to unlink them from their org account if that's how our memberships are based?
I was just typing the answer to Sarah there. Basically, the example I gave is just changing their username and password. We have an incredible, I'm not here to sell you, we have an incredible product that Elizabeth manages called Roster Manager that you could use to go ahead and find a new leader or a new company admin. But you can use iDMS to change your company admin. So I could decide that if someone changed their email address and it no longer matched the company, I could create an iUpdate job that removed them from being company administrator and added them to a new company or not. Totally up to your rules. If you can find what you want to change or insert using an IQA, 9 times out of 10, you can do the update using iUpdate. So my challenge, my pushback to you is work with your provider or ASI to say, I need an IQA that's going to find everybody where the company administrator has a different email address domain than the company. I want to remove them as a company administrator. If you can find an IQA that says, here's the list of all the people that should not be company administrators, we can remove their company administrator. And then you can say, here's a list of all the people that should be company administrators. We can add them. Lori, how did I do on my French? Took a minute. Does anyone use iDMS to send you an email to alert you when a company administrator updates their own records? You could do that. You could create, if you can create an IQA, if I had an IQA that said, all right, this person's a company administrator and they were last updated by themselves, right? So I can track that their username matches who last updated. You could, create an activity that could then be used for process automation to send you an email. If you had sorry, I'm not trying not to turn this into a sales thing. Our Power Automate connector, you could even put a message into Teams on the fly. You could go ahead and say, company administrator just updated their own information. So you could do that as well. That would be really cool. But just in terms of using iDMS, I'd write an activity and then send out a email using process automation. Really cool idea, Robin. And Courtney gets a Doug Buck for the front pleats. Missed the front pleats. Totally missed that. All right, JT.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. If you do have any questions or anything like that, feel free to still use the chat. If you do have uh, iDMS or you have product related questions, you can always reach out to support@csiinc.com. If you don't have iDMS or want additional modules, you can always go and email sales@csiinc.com and we can get you the information there. All of our docs can be found at docs.csiinc.com. So if you have any questions or you want some of those tutorials of, hey, I want it to do bulk event registrations or things like that, all of that can be found on our docs site. And if you do have CSI products, you can always join our listserv. So by going to csi.ms/listserv, this is just going to be a collaborative environment where you can ask other users how they're using a product, ask questions, and really get advice from actual users of the solutions that they have. And then,
Thank you
Doug,
all.
you mentioned bulk event registration, which includes money. Does that mean that it impacts the proper AR tables?
Yes, it does. So when you import event registrations, when you import gifts, when you import orders, when you import payments, we need to add that. We missed that payments, JT. We'll add that. We're doing this again tonight for our friends in Asia Pacific. Payments can be imported as well. All of those handle the behind the scenes, the invoice and trans table. It creates a batch. It does everything from a financial perspective. So yes, the proper AR tables. All that's done by AR. AR. All that's done by the iMIS API, which is beautiful because guess what? If it doesn't work right, we know who to yell at. That's ASI. So it is super, super easy. Super. If you go and you said, "Hey, I need you to register these 5 people in iMIS," I guarantee you, if you had those 5 IDs, you could do it with iImport or iUpdate a lot quicker, especially if the registration items were required. So that's one of the other keys. Oh, we already got someone to subscribe, JT. Bam. All right, cool.
Awesome. Well, if you do have any questions, oh, got the text. If you do have
Now
any
we can end the
questions,
webinar right on
yeah,
time.
feel free to reach
Done,
out
Verizon.
and we can get any questions you have answered. But with that, we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week.
Thanks so much.